What's up, 513? What's up, 283? It's so weird saying the area code. Hey, what's good, everybody from any other area code, weird or not? Welcome to a Cincy fan talking with LP. And of course, it's your boy, LP. Loving the energy, appreciate it, appreciate it. It's still weird to say 283 representing Cincinnati. I gotta be. Either way, what's good? What's good? If you got a 283 area code, I don't know, the seven of y'all that do, um, you welcome to bask in the 513 ambiance as well. Not gonna hate on you. It's just wow. Man, I still remember we had four area codes in Ohio. Like 513, 614, what was it? 216, 419. We had four back in the day. So yeah, that's how old I am. Hey, but yo, welcome back to the pod. You heard the music, so you know this is the reviewing week. And normally I'm reviewing a teacher movie, a good one, a bad one, a awesome one, a classic one, a trash one, or whatever. But this one gonna be a little bit different because I'm super excited about a different world coming back. Now, I'm not sure what it's gonna look like. Actually, we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. But I'm excited. It's not really a rebooting. It's more one of those things where a child of two of the main cast members is coming into that fictional environment. I'm excited to see what happens. And when I started thinking about it, I'm like, man, I've in my lifetime I've seen some awesome black sitcoms, and then I've seen some where it was super dope at first, and then they did something stupid to just ruin it. So, of course, I'm like, let me find some of the best ones and some of the worst ones, and let's rank them. So, here's what we got. My top 10 black sitcoms that were ruined or saved by change. So that's what we doing. Now, it was just ones that were ruined by a change, but then I started thinking, and I'm like, there were some sitcoms, some black sitcoms, where they made a change, and it actually worked out. So we're talking about those classic black sitcoms that had championship potential, was about to be, number one out here, but just got absolutely wrecked, or in a few cases got a little remixed and saved by a storyline, a recast, or just a big take, an awesome take on an old idea. So we're gonna count down the top 10 black sitcom shakeups. Now, I got some honorable mentions, so you can kind of see how this is gonna work. So I guess you can call this 12 and 11. So my first one is the Wayans brothers, and this one wasn't like a recast. It was just like it just got ghosted. I would call it network disrespect. So basically, for 5 seasons, you had Sean Wayans and Marlon Wayans, along with Pops, and then they switched to security guard a little bit. But either way, you got peak physical comedy. You had that late 90s WB energy. It was kind of unfiltered. It was predictable, but you knew what you were going to get. And Sean and Marlon together were funny. But if you were a TV head like me in the 80s and 90s, you know the WB decided to go with that Beverly Hills 90210 feel, and they just did that with everything. Smallville, Riverdale, they just did all of that. And when they did that, they got away from the urban lineup. So they just canceled the show abruptly. No final episode, none of that. No series finale, no proper send off, nothing. And it's funny because in Scary Movie, in that part at the end of the very first movie, Sean Wayans is like one of the killers and he's stabbing somebody and he's pissed off and he's like, and I can't believe they canceled the Wayans brothers. They canceled the Wayans brothers and they didn't give him a proper send off. Like, it was funny that he found a way to get that in there. But that's one of my honorable mentions because I would have liked to see what would happen with like a series finale or something like that. But they said, nah, later for that. Get up out of here. My second honorable mention would be Sister Sister. And for this one, it was just the final season. Like the whole final season was just weird. They tried to make it more mature, you know what I mean? So when they moved from ABC to the WB, they just kind of grew up the show. They changed the beginning sequence where they had them like pop locking and dancing with the sisters. That was a little weird, but you expect it. You can't have them like dancing like 12-year-olds forever. Understood that. But they just completely cleared the bench out in the writer's room. They took the Ronrico Lee character and the Dion Richmond character, Tyreek and Jordan. They took them and just gave them their whole storylines. The biological parents for the sisters were, you barely saw them, and they were basically on the University of Michigan campus for the whole time. And they started talking about college stuff, and it was like it wasn't the same as it was before. And I get it, they're in college now, but they just ducked off Ray and Lisa like whatever with them. You barely saw them. And that was kind of the engine that kept things going, like that kind of not really sexual tension, but at the same time, it's like I care about my daughter, I care about my daughter, so we're working it out together. And it's like they never really got, you never saw that flushed out. You know what I mean? It was more like what they doing at college. Let's make this one of those WB Riverdale things. And I won't say it didn't work out, but they left a lot on the table. So it kind of worked and it didn't. So for me, it was honorable mention. So this is my top 10. All right. Now, I kind of showed some people the top 10 and they kind of looked at me like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I think a lot of people agree with my top 10, but they would kind of move some stuff around. Number one might not be what you think. Maybe, maybe not. It depends on if you vibing or how I'm vibing. So let's go. Number 10, hanging with Mr. Cooper. What? What LP? I know. I'm a TGIF guy. Like that was me. Early mid 90s, nothing to do. Friends not really mobile as far as the car situation goes, stuff like that. Once I hit 10th grade or whatever. And before that, you in the house on a Friday, chilling, watching TGIF. That's kind of how the game goes. And with hanging with Mr. Cooper, it was one of those things where you just had too many storylines switch up in casting rotations. I mean, you start off season one, you got Mark Curry, you know, playing Mr. Cooper. He's a former basketball player. He's sharing a house with two women, Don Lewis and Holly Robinson Peete. And it had a distinct, slightly mature urban roommate vibe. You know, that 9-9-30 part where the kids ain't really watching no more. So it was cool. In season two, ABC was like, forget that. Let's flip it. We're going to make this family friendly. Got Don Lewis out of there, put Raven Simone in there to get that kid vibe. And all of a sudden, Mark Curry, he teaching now. He a high school teacher. And it was weird because it felt like the network just panicked and they tried to clone the Cosby Show and Full House and push them together. And they took something that was supposed to be kind of like this hip, people kind of melding together, kind of that Three's Company vibe. They took that out, and all of a sudden it was like, what? What is this? And it was like they just kind of kept moving pieces around, trying to get the high school kids involved more, and it was just weird how they was moving it around. I didn't even know who was gonna pop up on the screen on a weekly basis. So I got them at number 10 because it kind of sort of worked and it kind of sort of didn't. So that's like my number 10. Number 9 is kind of controversial. Um, I know some people that had this a lot higher on their list. I know some people wouldn't put this on their list at all. Number 9 is My Wife and Kids. And this is kind of like that sneaky blueprint. For me, this is one of those sabotages that actually worked. And a lot of people don't really know about this because you don't see these episodes nearly as much as you do the ones that came on a little bit later. So, in case you missed it, the Claire Kyle person that you saw for like seasons 2 through 5 or 6 or whatever. That wasn't her in season one. Jazz Raycole played the original Claire Kyle in season one. Did it for the whole season one. The show got picked up for season two, and her mom reportedly pulled her from the series. There were a lot of casting, not casting, but there were a lot of storyline, not rewrites, but there were more like a mature storyline feel for that character and some other characters. And her mom was like, you know what? I'm not cool. I think there was a storyline where Claire's friend got pregnant or something like that. And mom was like, you know what? That's a little bit too much for me. So we're going to go ahead and mutually decide to get my kid up out of there. So Jennifer Freeman comes in and she does season two and she does the rest of the seasons. Now, this is one of those that probably would not have worked out if we're talking changes in 2018, 2019, 2020. Because you got the whole we're dumping a dark skinned character for a light skinned character dynamic, and you have a lot of that going on. But because it happened so early before the audience had kind of locked in into the whole season one dynamic, it kind of worked out. It also worked out because Jennifer Freeman, she hit the nail on the head with who the character was. She played kind of an airhead, but she was lovable at the same time. She was a little naive, but she really cared when it came down to it. She hit that on the head. Like, think Boy Meets World, think Corey Matthews' brother, kind of like that. She played that character very well. So well that you kind of forgot that that wasn't her in season one. So, had they tried this in season 4 or 5, the internet would have had their heads. But it's one of those things that since they did it early, it worked out. And I think it's why it's my season 9. Season 9. I think this why it's my number 9 choice because it wasn't really controversial. It would have been controversial later. My number 8, a lot of people sleep on this show. Number 8 is Rock. They did something that a lot of sitcoms are just afraid to do. And Rock leaned into the fact that they had the people to do it. Now, season one was it was your standard my bad, hold on. For my people that don't know Rock, it's basically Charles S. Dutton plays a sanitation worker, garbage collector from Baltimore, Maryland. He's living with his brother, he's living with his wife, and his dad, and they share a home together. And season one was typical standard fare. You have the kind of weird junkyard guy who likes to collect stuff on his route. The brother, he likes to gamble and he plays his saxophone. Dad's older, but he's kind of hip. The wife is trying to make sure that Rock isn't bringing too many knickknacks in the house. It's that whole season one thing. But for the second season, the people that ran the show were kind of like, you know what? We're on Fox. And it's the early to mid 90s, so we got to do something to switch it up. And they looked around and they noticed that their entire cast, Charles S. Dutton, Ella Joyce, Rocky Carroll, Carl Gordon, they were all elite Broadway stage veterans. Like, they do this. So they're like, you know what? Let's just make this show 100% live. You know how like Saturday Night Live is live? Something messes up, it messes up and we all see it. That's what Rock did for the entire second season. Y'all, it was a stroke of genius. You're watching a sitcom with absolutely no safety net. Somebody forgets their lines, you seeing it live. Somebody flubs their lines, you're seeing it live. It was pure theater on primetime television. And because they had the seasoned stage actors to do it, you had this energy that was kind of like Saturday Night Live. You're watching very good actors and actresses do their thing. And at first you're like, oh man, I hope they don't mess up. And after a while you're like, nah, this is good. And even when they do mess up, you really don't notice it. And the best part, and podcasters alike can attest to this, what they could do is they could comment on real world current events happening that exact week. So they were doing some crazy stuff. They were talking about an episode about the Los Angeles riots that happened days after the verdicts. You can't do that when you're filming episodes in the summer that are going to hit in the fall and the spring. But if you're doing it live, you can really switch up your storylines to fit what's in the moment. It was perfect. It was one of those things that when they did it, you wonder why they didn't start off like that because it was that good. That was number 8. Number 7 didn't work out like that. This sabotage was not good. This is Martin. This is the lawsuit and this is the split. I mean, uh, if I would have did this if I would have done this episode of this podcast maybe 4 or 5 years ago, this would have been number 1. And when I really think about it, this this is one of those that I struggle with where to put this. I get upset talking about this one. This one and my number 2, I get upset talking about the most. Martin was one of those shows that was like it was electric, it was hilarious, and you saw like black love in a way that you normally didn't see it in the 90s because you saw a lot of caricatures and stuff like that. But you had Martin and Gina, played by Martin Lawrence and Tisha Campbell, and you saw them kind of like go through their ups and downs together, and it was great to see because it looked like relationships that we saw in our homes on a regular basis. We didn't feel like TV showed us like that, and it was great to see. Hilarious moments between the entire cast because the cast was full of hard hitters. Carl Anthony Payne, it was awesome. You had Tashina Arnold, rest in peace to Tommy Strong, and then season 5. In season 5, Tisha Campbell filed a lawsuit against Martin Lawrence alleging sexual harassment, creating a hostile work environment. It was wild. She agreed to finish the season, but she had some guidelines. One of those was a strict legal condition that she and Martin Lawrence do not film scenes in the same room together. This set the stage for some bad TV. Season 5 was hard to watch. Sorry about that, y'all. Season 5 was hard to watch. The beginning of season 5 was awesome, but there's like a cutoff point, maybe around episode 9 or 10, where it just got hard to watch. The writers had to they had to make these ridiculous concessions, green screen edits, separate storylines, phone call scenes where you split the TV in half, and Martin talks to Gina. Martin says something and walks out, and as soon as he walks out of the room, Gina walks into the room, yelling at each other from windows. It really killed the vibe of one of the greatest comedies of the 90s. And I feel like this show would have been on the radar as one of the greatest comedies ever had season 5 not happened. I really feel like that. And the storylines they just started getting weird and honestly pretty boring. So that's number 7. Number 6 is what I was talking about at the beginning of this. Number 6 is A Different World. Now, the new A Different World is coming out September 24th. We're talking about the OG one, the original one. This takes the form of two completely different A Different Worlds. Now, for my people that don't know, season 1 was built entirely around Denise Huxtable, which Lisa Bonet played in The Cosby Show. A Different World is a spinoff of The Cosby Show. So, mom and dad went to Hillman College. So, Denise decides to go to Hillman College. Hillman College is supposed to be an HBCU. In season 1, this did not look like an HBCU. I mean, it got knocked a lot for being unrealistic and not really having that HBCU energy. And it didn't really help that Lisa Bonet didn't bring her best to the role. So, Lisa Bonet became pregnant. She left the show after the first season. Debbie Allen took over, and what she did was genius. She decided that this HBCU should look like an HBCU. Now, I gotta be honest, and actually, Debbie Allen agrees with me. In season one, Marissa Tomei was one of the characters. Now, she's white at an HBCU. Debbie Allen wanted to keep that character in a different world for the second and third seasons. I thought it would have been awesome to see how Marissa Tomei's character navigates being a white person at HBCU. It's not one of those things that are uncommon, actually. Um, there are white people in HBCUs, and it's really a common occurrence. A lot of people don't understand that. It would have been nice to see that play out, the ups and downs and whatnot, but it didn't really work out that way. But what Debbie Allen did was she completely retooled the series. She brought an actual HBUC. HBUC. What are we doing, LP? She actually brought an HBCU vibe to this, and she shifted the spotlight to Whitley and Dwayne Wayne, which were played by Jasmine Guy and Kadeem Hardison. And the show really took off because it wasn't just about those two. Without the spinoff person there, where all the storylines had to shift to, they could put the storylines on about the entire crew. So it didn't become like a one or two person show. It became about Kimberly Reese. It became about Ron Johnson. It became about Freddie Brooks. They had a lot of people that did great on this show, and it was because they didn't have to focus all of their energy on one person. It was a beautiful way to not only save the show, but kind of take it to that next level. It's one of those rare examples where somebody leaves the cast and it saves the show a long time because you don't have to focus all your energy on that one person. Now, it still fits the criteria because the original concept of the show was kind of abandoned. So it fits my whole guideline. Debbie Allen basically had to burn the whole thing down, y'all. And when she did that, it turned into a successful franchise. Number five, it became successful, but Girlfriends is like, it's like eating your favorite dish, and right before you get to your favorite part, let's say you love macaroni and cheese and meatloaf, and you absolutely have to have a bowl of ice cream to end it off. You get your meatloaf, you get your mac and cheese, and it's delicious. It's the bomb. But then somebody goes like, you know what? 86 that ice cream. That's what Girlfriends feels like. It feels like one of those shows where you just wish you could have saw what happened if everything stayed intact. Long story short, a casting loss kind of it kind of did the whole thing bad. Girlfriends basically was founded on volatility, hilariousness, and four women going through the ups and downs together. And they really leaned on Joan and Tony's energy. Joan was played by Tracy Ellis Ross. Tony's played by Jill Marie Jones. They really had a complex relationship. That's one way to put it. They went through some stuff. And they decided, you know what? We're going to fight through that and we're still going to be best friends. It's what real best friends kind of do. It's like a marriage. You overlook the flaws because you feel like the best of the person is way better than the worst of the person. And you're willing to deal with the bad stuff because the good stuff is so great. That's what their relationship was like. But Jill Marie Jones was kind of like, you know what? At the end of season 6, I would like to do something different. And there's really nothing wrong with that. When you want to do something different and you're kind of like at the height of where you feel like you can do that, you should do that. What happened was that kind of central friction that left. It wasn't there anymore. And they tried to fill it by putting different people in that spot. The Monica character kind of got elevated a little bit. There was more writing for the. Sorry about that. There was more. There was more writing for the male character and whatnot, but it really didn't feel the same. And since the final seasons were kind of empty, it got prematurely canceled. So, just like the Wayans brothers, we didn't get that final episode. And it was really messed up because you could see the growth in the characters. Even though the storylines are getting kind of weird, you could still see that growth. You could see the elevation of the Maya Wilkes character. You could see the elevation of the Lynn character as she began to, I don't know, not be a bum. Because they really did try to play her like a bum. And then you had the William Dent character, and he was kind of coming out of his shell, and really didn't get to see all of that because cancellation. So without a proper farewell, it was kind of messed up. So that's number five. So for my people checking in at home, we got Hanging with Mr. Cooper number 10. We got My Wife and Kids number 9. We got Rock number 8. We got Martin at number 7. We got A Different World at number 6. Girlfriends at 5. And here's the final four. Now, my folks are going to hear this final four, and it's going to be, I would have put this here, I would have put this there. I hear you. This is how I felt when I did it. Number 4, The Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Man, one of my homies tried to swing on me when I put this at number 4 when I showed it to him. I'm like, it's not as bad as the other three. And he's like, dude, that's number 1. The Aunt Viv switch is the worst. I'm like, it's bad, but it's not the worst. It's not the worst. It was bad though, because what they did was they took the Janet Hubert Witten character and got her up out of there. I wouldn't say she was the glue for the first 3 seasons, but she was pretty close to it. You could write actual storylines for her. She had a presence in the home where you really felt like she was Will's aunt, and she was going to take care of him while he was out in Bel Air. She was fierce, dark skinned, educated, and she could command a room. And of course, she could kill it in the dance studio. Y'all saw that. So she had a lot of internal stuff. I mean, I don't know if that stuff is true or not. There's documentaries about it. She got pushed out. Daphne Maxwell Reid got pushed in for season 4. Now, Daphne Maxwell Reid, she's a solid actress. She is. And if she would have had the role first, this wouldn't even be on the list. I'm just being honest. She did a great job as the second Aunt Viv. If she would have had the role first, we wouldn't have had this issue. But the fact that they had such a strong willed character play Aunt Viv first, and they went to kind of like a soft suburban mom type energy for the other Aunt Viv, it just didn't make sense. I mean, there were a lot of scenes where it felt like she wasn't Will's aunt. It just kind of felt like that, where you didn't get that with the first Aunt Viv. A lot of the storylines in the first couple seasons were built, I wouldn't say a lot, but there were a few storylines that were built around the first Aunt Viv character. And it made us feel like we were watching a person that could really hold the house down. Like she felt like the backbone. And they didn't write the other person like that. And it really made everything it made everything feel weird. Now, as years went by, I didn't see this as bad as I did some of the other ones. But it's one of those things where you wonder how far this show could have went if the entire cast had stayed strong. Because where it went to some solid places. I mean, it's a really good show. But I feel like it could have been even better had you had Viv stay from the beginning. Number three. Now, for me, this was my initial number one. Some things happened, and I had to slide it down to number three. Moesha. Now, the put a visual in your head of me just holding my head right now, just covering my eyes, like, cause talking about this just feels like I just want to rage out. For the first four seasons, let's say three and a half, I guess. Moesha was like a great depiction of life as a teenager in the 90s. The ups and downs, the stuff you go through. I mean, we watched that show in the 90s and we were like, we're not from LA, but a lot of this stuff, like, dang, they kind of sound like us. That's the stuff we go through. Then the writers decided to make it a soap opera. We got a storyline where Frank Mitchell had a secret son from an affair that he had. He was acting like he was the boy's uncle, but he was really the boy's dad. They made references to this so many times over the first three or four seasons, where I got to go see my nephew. They made jokes, ha ha ha. Little do you know, that's this man's kid. Just blowing up a black nuclear family, y'all. Just blowing it up. Now this man trifling. All of a sudden now we talking about teenage pregnancy. We talking about gang threats. They left season five on like a cliffhanger where Moesha's little brother Miles gets kidnapped and somebody in the crew is pregnant and we don't know who. And there was no season six because the show ended like that. So somewhere in some alternative universe, Miles is still, I don't know, fighting for his ever loving life somewhere while one of the girls having a baby. And we don't know because the show ended. It like this one of those jump the shark moments where it's like they jumped it so hard they hit the moon. Like it lost its identity because they trying to get ratings. And then UPN just said forget it. So now we never know what happened. Hey Miles, I hope you good. I'm just saying. And whoever got that baby, I hope y'all raising him or her right. It's just messed up that you have to take a show that had a strong relationship as the core and just completely gut it. It's not a soap opera, it's a sitcom. What are we doing? You might guess number two and number one. Let me give you the order. Number two is the OG of the OG's Good Times. It's a lot of the stuff that happened in a lot of these shows, but it happened here first. You got you got a proud, hard working black family just trying to get out of the hood in Chicago. That's what they're trying to do. But when you hear about the show, the first thing you think is dynamite, correct? And that's because J.J. Walker basically pulled a Steve Urkel. We'll talk about that in a moment. He commanded the room, and the writers understood that. So, where you had the first couple of seasons where the writers were writing about them struggling and surviving and making it through and being a tight family, instead, we started getting shenanigans. And now we focusing on JJ saying dynamite. You gotta fit that in there. This made James Evans, who was played by John Amos, it made him upset. So they were kind of clash because he's like, this show is important. This show is talking about stuff that's happening in our community and people need to see it. The writers are like, nah, we need ratings. Honestly, they're both right. because how do you get people to see the show if they're not laughing because it's a sitcom? But at the same time, you don't want to make it a caricature. You don't want people to think that. It got to be hard to be a writer because you're constantly balancing these two things. And of course, they go ahead and fire John Amos. And they do it in the most messed up way for the show. They kill off his character. So now you have cartoonish catchphrases along with the father of the family going. So now you have a one parent household. Once again, I don't know. Killing off the strong, hard-working father figure, it basically gutted the emotional core of the series. I didn't know this, but Esther Rowe, who played Florida, she quit the show for a while out of protest. I did not know that. And then they try to kind of bring things back in with JJ playing more of a father figure type role for a little bit. That didn't work. So then they went back to what they was doing before. It was just a mess. It it was a mess. Um, I don't know what to say about that, y'all. All of these on their own were shows that they had a shot and then something happened and it either kind of uplifted the show or brought it down. But number one takes the cake. Now, honestly, I had this ranked as number four at first, and then I remembered the last season of Family Matters. That's number one. So much happened, y'all. This started off as a hard working family show based in Chicago. A lot of people forget that this show was a spinoff on its own. Um, Harriet Winslow, she was the elevator operator in Perfect Strangers. You know, Larry and Balky. And every now and again, her husband, the cop Carl Winslow, would kind of come through and check on her. A lot of people forget that. They took her character and decided to make their own show. That became Family Matters. So history lesson. Now, that's how it started off. You know, you have this family kind of going through their ups and downs. Nice working class family. Steve Urkel pops up. He was supposed to be a one time guest, but come on, man. You see him at first and you're like, we gotta have more Steve Urkel. Now, we're all victim of this because in the 90s we all thought it. Like, who was that nerdy character? He was hilarious. Bring him back. They brought him back. They kept bringing him back. And he basically hijacked the entire series. Now, this alone wouldn't put Family Matters at number one. Let me be clear. Jaleel White absolutely did his thing. And not for nothing, but his physical comedy is severely underrated. I tell people this all the time. The pratfalls that he could make, like the spit takes, the absolute chaos that he would cause in a room just by walking in and closing the door is hilarious. Like, it's still hilarious. So if it was just him kind of hijacking the show, I don't even think this would make the list. However, the show just said, you know what? Let's just try the craziest stuff possible and see if it'll work. So then you got Steve splitting himself into Stefan Urkel and becoming two completely different people, y'all. Like Stefan Urkel, no mom, no daddy. He just walking around, just DNA in a suit. We shifting in the sci-fi territory. Urkel calling himself in the Bruce Lee. He making robots. We time traveling. Like, we going back in saloons, shooting people. We making teleportation devices, and we shooting off for free trips to Paris. It's wild. And let's not even get started on Judy Winslow just basically disappearing and Aunt Rachel just getting gone. Let's not even talk about that. Now, quiet as it's kept, I watched a lot of episodes of Family Matters. She did not just walk upstairs and never come back down. She was in some episodes after that, but she really did just disappear for real. Now, with all of that happening, it still wouldn't have been number one on the list. But then they decided to pull a Fresh Prince on top of all of this. In the final season, ABC said we tired of this show, and CBS was like, we're gonna go ahead and snatch it up. Joe Marie Payton, who played Harriet Winslow, said, I'm good. I'm done with Steve Urkel having a sci-fi hour, and was like, I'm gone. So then they bring in Judy Ann Elder for the last season. What? Harriet Winslow was the anchor of the show. Like, Harriet Winslow acted so well on the show that it felt like the Laura Winslow character and her were clones. They felt like mother and daughter. That was the influence it felt like she had on the house. And they just got her out of there. And then put in like another light skinned lady, Judy Ann Elder. I mean, they didn't even make them look the same. Like, they really just played with our. They just played in our faces like we calling her Harriet, live with it. She acted all soft. Carl would say weird things to her, and old Harry would have slapped him sideways. This new Harry is like, ha ha ha. No, what are we doing? When you factor the Harriet recast on top of the Urkel Sci-Fi Hour, on top of Judy Winslow getting up out of there, on top of Aunt Rachel, this is number one. Like, it just went from a show about a relatable black family to the wacky adventures of Steve and Stefan with a splish splash of, hey, who's Harriet this week? It was really wild to see. Like it really was. It was writing off Judy Winslow the way they did was one of the most disrespectful and lazy cast writing write offs in television history. Let's just call it what it is. That was lazy. Girlfriends did us the service of building an entire world that the Tony character stepped off into. They would have episodes where the other cast members would say on the show that we met with Tony. Tony never disappeared. Like, she was never just, we never heard of her. They still had issues. They just didn't get worked out on screen. Judy just disappeared. I mean, they had segments where they would say, hey, me and my two kids. Dude, you got three. What the other one? Like, like it's well, if you feel like I'm passionate about this, it's because Family Matters. It angered me when I was putting the list together, and I had it at 5, and then I moved it to 4, and then I moved it to 2, and then I moved it to 1, because I just kept thinking like, oh yeah, this happened. Damn, that really did happen. You know what? That's what it is. Hey, tell me what you agree with. Tell me what you disagree with. If you have a show that you would definitely put in here, let me know what show you would put in and what show you would take off to put them in there. Or if you just be like, I need 11 because this show got to be in here. Because it's something that I didn't hit because I didn't feel like they really reached that pissed me off status or made me happy status. But if you got to take, definitely let me know. Feel free to hit me up. Y'all know the socials. I'm on X. Send me a message on Spotify. Email your boy. Hit me up. And on that note, we're going to start this music up. And we are out. Definitely keep looking out for more content because I will be out here a whole lot more. Trying to duck school coming as much as possible, but y'all know how it is, y'all. Life is good. Peace out.